I'm Mary Thomas, owner of Innovative Therapy and developer of the BODi Power System. In the first video, I talked about how the body was a lot like a bridge. There's lots of internal parts, and the most important parts in that structure are the ones inside. The bridge, like our bodies, is designed to handle a lot of environmental stress. However, we can end up having stress so much that we have trauma, which then results in that chronic low back pain or some other problem. There's a schematic by Thomas W. Meyer, who wrote the book Anatomy Trains. When you look at this schematic, notice how in the first picture, issues covering the hip can begin clear up at the shoulders and extend clear down into the calf and even the ankle. So imagine in that very first picture, I have tightness in my abdomen and I'm being brought forward by that fascia, which is pulling on my body. So in order to keep my head and neck up, I start to arch my back and I'm pulling up to walk. What happens is that my spine becomes the rope in the proverbial tug of war between the front and the back. And every step has tension as I try to stretch out my leg and I can't bring it forward because of that pull. So I get pain, and then again I go for my rescue remedies, my adjustment, my massage, strengthen, stretch. But I'm forgetting to look at the underlying cause or the reason behind the problem. I'm not pinpointing my limitation as we do in the BODi Power System. We can also end up frequently with what I call the terrible Z pattern. So I was working with a gentleman who had severely fractured his right knee. Then we did quite a bit of therapy. And then he ended up saying that he was done, he felt great, he didn't want to come in anymore. But I was looking at his pelvis and his low back and the way he walked. And I said, I'd really like to do a few more sessions of therapy with you. And he said, no, I'm good. And I said, well, check back with me in a couple of months. Didn't hear from him regarding that issue until 2 years later, when his left ankle was fractured. He had been running up some stairs because he said, I was feeling really good that day. So as he ran up the stairs, he ended up fracturing his left ankle. So we went from right knee to left ankle. And as we began to work with his left ankle, I began to draw his attention into the pelvic issues, which then he admitted he had. He's like, oh yes, I'm having problems with some pelvic issues as well. And as we continued to work, you could see the issues in his spine. And then he admitted that he dealt with a lot of upper back pain in between his shoulder blades. And I helped him to understand that all of this had to do with the balance or the imbalances that happened as a result of the knee fracture, and that we needed to continue therapy until we had his body in better balance. He agreed that he wasn't going to go through this next tissue failure or trauma. He was going to continue learning how to keep his body in balance. So it's crucial that we use an appropriate system like the BODi Power System that pinpoints our limitations and then uses the voice of the body in order to correct those issues. I'm going to tell you what I've learned after 30 years of practice as a physical therapist. Nagging doesn't work, never does. And it is so much work to nag somebody. Why? Because our brain remembers healthy essential movement from when we were very young before all this trauma happened. But it doesn't think about it. Imagine the last time you were walking out of a building to get in your car and go someplace else. Did you think, put my heel on the floor, shift my weight onto the foot, put my heel on the floor, shift my weight onto the foot? I bet you didn't think that once. That's why nagging doesn't work. Our brain automatically moves, and it either moves into our essential healthy movement patterns, or it moves in dysfunctional movement patterns that we've adopted due to the tissue traumas that we've lived over our lives. So when we resolve and address these dysfunctions and put them back into balance and regain our normal healthy movement patterns, we're able to restore that younger, more youthful ability to move, and we're able to do all of those things that we need and want to do in life easily. Our brains are a lot like computers. If you've ever added new software to your computer, it usually says at the end, please reboot your computer. If you don't, that program is not completely integrated into your system, and that's why it's important that as you do the movements in the BODi Power System, you are releasing some of these fascial adhesions, but you're also rebooting and retraining your brain that those movements are now available to your body. Research is showing that if your brain does not learn that these movements are available, it will continue to move in a dysfunctional pattern. This will not serve you well over time. You get the itises, bursitis, tendinitis, arthritis, and you end up feeling old and moving funky or dysfunctional before your time. What would it mean to you to move well again?